Welcome back. We're talking with best-selling author and broadcaster Rabbi Shmuley Boteach. Your book, the one that put you on the map, 1999 bestseller, Kosher Sex, really was the big one. What was it that in that book that resonated so well with the public, you think?
Well, I think it's the absence of intimacy. I think that in the West, we are a sexually suffused society. Sex is everywhere. It's in our beer commercials. It's at our football games. And yet, people did not feel closer as a result of having this glut of sex. Young people at universities were having this anonymous sex. We call them hookups, which is a terrible term, which almost connotes the relationship between a U-Haul and a station wagon or something. It's not really anything intimate. People were feeling that sex wasn't working for them. It was dying in marriages. It was dying in relationships. It was losing its potency. It was losing its passion. So when a rabbi came along and wrote a book about sex, I remember the publishers almost laughing at it. No one wanted to publish the book. No one could connect the dots that a religious personality could be seen as a sex guru. But the rest of the history is quite well known. The book became an international bestseller, and it was translated into 20 languages, thank God. And I think the main reason was it finally gave people what they wanted, which was sexual activity, which led to incredible, intimate, emotional closeness. In other words, people wanted the kind of sexual experience that would have them feeling as close the morning after as they did the night before.
Interestingly enough, you followed up with the same theme, kosher adultery, kosher sutra as well. Any more in the pipeline in that theme?
Well, we did kosher emotions as well, yes, which was a guided tour of the heart. Well, but remember, by kosher, as I explained at the beginning of these books, I don't mean like kosher food. By kosher, I mean appropriate. You know, there are appropriate emotions and there are inappropriate emotions. There's appropriate adultery and there's inappropriate adultery, meaning appropriate adultery is having an affair with your spouse, which is what I did in that book is I bottled the essential ingredients of what makes an affair so successful, and I showed married couples how they could bring that illicit, sinful passion into a very legal marriage. And I'd like to believe it really works, and that's why I think these books have resonated.
Now, interestingly enough, you faced a fair amount of backlash from the Orthodox Jewish community for tackling these essentially taboo subjects for many people in books like Kosher Sex. How did you handle that?
I did face a strong backlash. It was primarily in the United Kingdom, where the Jewish community in the UK is a very unique community. Number one, it's quite small. It's about 275,000. Number two, I think that with the history of anti-Semitism in Europe, it's a more insular community. And it's a community which is more cautious. So I think when someone came into the community, and he was an American, and lived there for 11 years, and rapidly achieved a pretty high profile, and yet was drawing a lot of young Jews because of these new ideas and new methods, there was naturally a lot of suspicion, and a lot of the old ways of doing things, it was challenged. The net result was there was a lot of high-profile opposition. I had to accept that it was painful and there was nothing I could really do about it. And I tried sometimes to explain myself, and sometimes my words were accepted and I was able to explain myself. And sometimes I felt I was speaking to a wall and people were not going to understand me. But at the end of the day, I think that rabbis and communal professionals need to be judged by their effectiveness. And when it came to young, disaffected, uninterested Jews, our activities were extremely effective.
You've become friends with a lot of top celebrities. What is it you find that they're looking for? Is there like a common theme?
Well, look, I'm friends with some celebrities. They're human just like us, as you well know. You meet them all the time. They just happen to be on TV more than most people. I don't know if celebrities have a common theme. I would say they have a common dysfunction. And here's what it is. Many celebrities begin life looking for attention to supplant the void of love that was not introduced in their life. Let's take Michael Jackson as an example of someone who I was close to. Michael had a lot of decency to him. I actually lament what he did to his life. There was a gentleness to him. There was a softness to him. In many ways, he was the atypical celebrity. But what ruined him? Well, by his own admission, so I'm not revealing anything here, Michael felt very deprived of affection as a boy. He felt that he was sent to rehearse with his brothers in the Jackson 5 instead of being allowed to play on the monkey bars. He felt his father was his manager rather than his dad. So when you're deprived of love, which is something given to you unconditionally as a gift, you seek to compensate with attention. Love is something you get for what you are, and attention is something you get for what you do. So Michael had to do. So the first thing he did was he expressed his talent through song and dance, and he got a lot of attention. But what happened when people sort of got used to it? You're on the world stage for 10 years. Now, other younger stars can do a little bit of what you can do, and they're getting a lot of attention. Now you need to show, how do I get attention? now I have a giraffe. And now I have Bubbles the chimp, which is my best friend. And now what happened is that you start doing things that are strange because it still gives you the attention. We saw the same thing with Anna Nicole Smith, who made her life into a train wreck until it wasn't funny anymore. So it's a common dysfunction that celebrities have.
Have you ever done anything in your life you regret?
Tons. It would take us a month's worth of your shows. Tons. I've done so many stupid things. I've done so many things that have lacked wisdom. I have betrayed myself in acting in a way that really goes counter to my most deeply cherished values. Take, for example, I believe that the foremost thing we are placed here on earth by God to do is bestow dignity on people in all times. That means to say hello to them in the morning. It means to compliment them. There are times that I have had, let's say, financial pressures. I've sunk deeply into myself, and I've barely spoken to my own wife. And here she is, dependent on my affection, as husbands and wives should be on each other. And I can't find the love within my heart to give it because I feel like a failure at that moment. That's a phenomenal betrayal of everything I preach about marriage and relationships. Or if I ever get angry and I yell at someone, I mean, that's an absolute betrayal of everything I stand for, which is to make people feel like they matter, not making them feel like they're diminished. And I think my own volatility as a person is always what I have most regretted. And I was raised in a very volatile environment. But, once you become an adult, there's no excuses anymore. You really have to you have to practice what you preach. You have to walk the walk, not just talk. So, I've tried my best, and I don't think I'm completely healed yet, and I don't know if I'll ever be completely healed. But I think that one of the ways you do heal yourself is by trying to heal others. And when you start seeing that your own words can have an impact on other people, you begin to believe that maybe you can have an impact on me as well.
Is there anything out there you really want to do that's left out there, a big project that you've been really wanting to do?
Oh, of course. Look, on the one hand, I absolutely believe in the openness of Western society. I don't want to see religion coerced the way it was in times gone by. I don't want to live in a coercive, oppressive society. I love the idea of freedom. And yet, let's face it, in the West, freedom for many has become license. And freedom in the West has led to a lot of broken lives. So how do you balance that? Freedom on the one hand, but leading to license. Answer is values. If you inject values, then people of their own accord begin to choose to lead a healthy life. So my greatest dream has always been to help heal Western society so that we can maintain the integrity of an open democratic process without all the brokenness, without all the divorce, without all the child neglect. From the time I was a boy, I saw myself as someone who would one day bring the divorce rate in America, which is 50%, down by half. Even if we could, even 25% is ridiculous, but if we could even bring it down by half, that was my dream. And amidst 20 books that I've published, thank God, and amidst thousands of articles, and amidst hundreds of interviews, it's a 50% divorce rate. So I don't know how much of an impact I've had, but I guess you judge it one case at a time, and you can't really look at the macrocosm. You need to focus on the microcosm.
How do you regard death?
I think death is something that has to be defeated. And I know that sounds a bit surreal, that I'm suggesting that we can defeat death. I remember once, when I was the rabbi at Oxford, we hosted Professor Christian Barnard, the world-famous doctor who performed the world's first heart transplant. He has since passed away, sadly. So I asked him in front of all the students, his hand started to shake, so he couldn't be a surgeon anymore. So I said to him, "What are you doing now?" He said, "I'm working to cure mankind's oldest disease." I said, "What's that?" I said, "Is it depression? Is it cancer?" He said, "No, it's old age." And he was working on these remedies. I'm not saying that I see us living forever. I do believe that we have to defy death. I don't think it should play an active role in our life. I think we plan for death way too much. There are some religions, I think, that emphasize the afterlife. Judaism really focuses on this world. It's keenly focused on what we will do in this life and in this world, making the world a better place. Death to Jews is something that should be dismissed. Our dead are buried way outside the city walls.
How would you like to be remembered? What would you like your legacy to be?
I'd like my life to be summed up as one of struggle, that I embrace the struggle that I believe life represents. I think a lot of people want to shirk their responsibility from the struggle. They're always waiting for life to get easier. They're waiting for their marriages to reach that stage after years of struggle where it just gets easy. They're waiting for, I struggled to raise my kids, now I want to just coast. You will never coast. The vibrancy of life comes specifically from struggle. Struggle is a beautiful thing. And I think we in the West get lazy and we think that there's nothing to struggle. I don't believe in righteousness. I don't believe in perfection. If righteousness is defined as someone who is above the struggle and is never tempted, then those people are boring to me and I have no real interest in them. I love people who they're engaged day in and day out and they have choices to make, and there's the good and the bad, but they wrestle with their nature to make choices for the good. And that's been my life. I don't think that things have come easy. I don't mean financially or anything else, and that's also been a struggle, but I mean more in terms of my character and being the man that I want to be. It's never been easy, and the struggle continues.
Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, I wish you a long life of right choices.
Thank you very much, Riz. Thank you for having me. God bless you too.